Welcome to the Speaking Podcast. And also, I'm going to say the Meditation Podcast because I'm actually going to put this episode on both and you'll understand in a minute. You'll find all of my episodes on speakingpodcast.com and the meditationpodcast.org. You'll also find us on BitChute and YouTube, and you'll find the links in the podcast description. I also have 3 other podcasts: Crypto Podcast, the Awakening Podcast, and the Learn Polish Podcast, and all can be found on roycollin.com. Today, my guest, and you need to look at this because he's got a beautiful background. Please welcome Alan Carroll.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alan Carroll, and I am a seeker, probably like most of you, I imagine. And what I've been doing all my life, from my early teens to my early 70s, I've been on a journey. And I've been on a journey of trying to find out something that seems to be missing in my experience. And so I began the traveling a path of psychology. I got my degrees in psychology, licensed psychology, and I would say the type of psychologist I am, Roy, would be a transpersonal psychologist. And a transpersonal psychologist is interested in moving from an egoic sense of consciousness into a being sense of consciousness, a transcendent sense of consciousness in which you have mental equilibrium and stability. And that's been my journey. And I've been using the stage of public speaking because if we can help people in public speaking and get them to be balanced and centered, it springboards them into that transcendent dimension of consciousness. And so we use only one tool in our work, Roy. And that one tool is the ability to control the timing of your speaking while you are speaking. And when you can do that, you are in present time, and we call that mindfulness. So that's an example of mindful speaking. We call it mindful spacious speaking. And that's a little bit of who I am and what I've been doing for the last 50 years, Roy.
Brilliant. And like what you've done there is you made a mindful pause, and I can see from your background the power of the pause. And also I'd like to just ask you about the different things around. So I encourage those just listening to go into the video and look at it, but you've got a beautiful background. You might tell me a bit about that.
Yes, in order to have people understand a transcendent dimension of consciousness, which is beyond the physical, you need to be able to use physical tools in order to explain something beyond the physical. So what you see is one of the items you see is a flute. And the flute is a Navajo Indian flute from the southwest part of the United States. And it is an instrument. It's a musical instrument. And so the human body is like a flute. And if I do not blow any air through, if I do not blow any air through the flute, what is the sound that the flute will make? And people would say, it wouldn't make any sound. Well, that's true. So what if I don't blow any air through my body? What sound does that make? That makes the sound of silence. But if I blow air through the flute, it makes a sound. And if I blow air through my body, blah, it makes a sound. And so what we do is, if you don't have any control of the instrument that makes the sound on the flute, it's pretty boring. But if I can control my physical body, ground my physical body, and get my consciousness in my physical body rather than the thoughts that I think, then I begin to get control of my physical body, which is the instrument that makes the sound. And all of a sudden I become less disembodied in terms of following the thoughts in my head, and my attention now is embodied. And so we become grounded and anchored. And then when you're grounded and anchored, you can take the flute of your body, and you can make the flute not make this sound, but now I can make the flute And the flute now makes a sweeter sound. And so by mindfulness and getting control of your physical body, the sound of your speaking is sweeter. Why is it sweeter? Because I have a choice. I now have a choice, Roy. I have a choice to express my love. I have a choice to express my ego wanting more for me and not a lot for you. And so as you move from that egoic consciousness to the transcendent consciousness, there's more of a desire for loving and the benefit of the all rather than for the gathering of things for myself, which creates separation. And so mindfulness and meditation is where you quiet the mind and you become still. And so when you transform a public speaker, what you're doing is you're quieting the agitation of the thoughts that they're speaking. And you tell them to pause. And that's the pause sign. And so the pause is the primary tool that we use in the transformational process. And what you see is the dance of Shiva in the midst of the triangle. And so now we have the dance of Shiva, which is their self-realization. Individuation was what Carl Jung would call it. You can call it self-realization, and that goes into into other conversations. So I want a dialogue here, right, Roy? I can talk a lot.
No, you're great, and like something on the mindfulness as well. Like that's a beautiful space, and I think a lot of people are surrounded by clutter. Do you recommend people have like even one room that they can go into that hasn't got so much disorganization around the place, that it's like what I see there now in front of me? There's like, you feel good when you're in that zone.
When I found myself going through ups and downs in my life, I remember I left a job and I wasn't quite sure what my next job was going to be, and so the ground underneath me was unstable, psychologically. And I went home and cleaned my house. I cleaned it. I threw things away that I didn't want. I washed things. So I made what I could control absolutely clear and clean. And so at least there's one place in my reality that I knew was still and clear, which then gives me a foundation to stand upon, to look out into the world. And so one wants a habit of just making sure that things are as clear and conscious as they possibly can. And what we're doing in public speaking is we're clearing the things that you're saying, the items that you're saying, the sounds that you're saying. So rather than talk 125 words per minute, let's have you bring it back, throttle it back a little bit. Maybe it's going to be 75 words per minute. So we're clearing the things out of that stream of speaking, just like we're clearing things out of your physical space. We're clearing things out of the stream of your speaking. And when you clear a sound out, it's left an empty space, which becomes a portal into that transcendent dimension of stillness, of pausing. And now you have access to the transcendent dimension, because that's where the ocean of stillness is between the sounds that you make. But no one thinks about that, Roy. Everybody thinks about the sound, because that's my ego. The empty space, there's nothing. That's my being. If I give up my ego in order to get to my being, then that's psychologically death to the ego. And the ego doesn't want to die. The ego wants to live. I want to be here. I don't want to talk. I want you to know everything that I'm saying, Roy. And and there's no space. There's no space.
And for those that are very uncomfortable with that, because I've seen some people and they really feel uncomfortable with a pause. They feel like they have to, just keep clattering away. Is there techniques that actually stop them feeling, uneasy when they're to pause, slow down?
When I'm training somebody, having them to stop, wake up, pause, ground their feet, take a breath before you speak is a very strange behavior. You don't think about doing that. So it's going to be awkward. So the idea is, are you able to stop? Just are you able to stop speaking? So you want to practice like going to the gym, Roy. You want to practice right now in your chair, looking at yourself in the mirror. Nobody's around. Just hold eye contact with yourself in the mirror and see if you can just stop. Take a breath, ground your feet, get your body perfectly relaxed, and then say whatever you want to say, and then stop. Take a breath. So that becomes from an unnatural conditioning of your body to it becomes natural. And so now when you're speaking, one foot is in the emptiness and the other foot is in the speaking part and into the egoic part. And so there's a balance. And that's the symbol of the yin of the Tao, is the balance of energies. And so the yang energy when you're speaking is the outward flow of the energy when I speak. And the yin energy is the inward flow of the energy when I pause. And so when you speak, you want to be able to balance the yang energy with the yin energy. And you'll see the amateur speakers are out of balance. They need to become, and everybody has access to that pause. And pause in the metaphysical world is the philosopher's stone. And in the alchemy, there's the philosopher's stone, which the alchemists were trying to, how do I get lead to gold? And they want, I'll be rich if I can find this philosopher's stone. And the philosopher's stone is the fifth element, and the fifth element is empty space. And so when you begin to pause, you are taking the fifth element and you're sticking it right there between the physical sounds, sound here, sound there. And when I pause, I'm taking the fifth element and I'm consciously putting the fifth element there, which makes me more spacious. I have more space in my reality now. I'm actually consciously creating the spaces between the thoughts that I think. And so I become more spacious. And every time you move, you put a space in there, the ego dies. Or the ego doesn't die, that's sort of a strong word. The ego begins to dissolve. And you become less concerned with defending your point of view and more concerned about how can I love you? How can I take care of you? What can we do together to heal the suffering that we experience? And that's the magic of public speaking, because it's available to everybody. And I suspect that's a long answer to your question.
No, it's good. Very nice, very nice. And I know that you've spoke in over 50 countries, I believe. Yeah, is that correct?
Right. My journey started with Werner Erhard back in the 70s in the S training, Erhard seminar trainings. I lived in the San Francisco area, and that was transformational, because he just, the S training itself was transformational. But then the follow-up assisting, they had a training us to be speakers in front of audiences to help, want the audiences to come to the training. And I was terrified of public speaking, terrified of it. But I did it. And that which if you face the fear, then the death of fear is certain, is one of the mottos, is if you face the fear, the death of fear is certain. And public speaking is the same way. If you face the fear of public speaking, the death of public speaking is certain. And so that started my journey way back in the 70s with Werner Erhard. And it's just continued. It's just continued on that transformational pathway.
When you're speaking, then are you kind of go in flow, or do you structure everything? Do you know beforehand what you're going to say, or does it kind of vary? Like if you do the same speech in different countries, has it changed?
It's the same song, but every time I sing it, I don't sing it the same way. It's a song of transformation. Every time I do a training, I tell the audience this is not like the training I just did before. The last show that I did last week in Warsaw, that's not the show I'm going to do in Paris. It's the same purpose, the same direction, the same transformational results of uncomfortable to comfortable, to grounded, to ungrounded, to grounded, the same results, the same trick, because I'm using the same element, but I'm only using one tool. It's the same tool. And that's the fifth element, the tool of empty space, which is called emptiness. It's called stillness. It's called presence. It's called mindfulness. And it's just available to everybody. But no one thinks about that because they have to give up something in order to get it. And the something you got to give up is your identity. And how would I give up? If I give up my identity, who will I be? You'll be nothing. Well, what do you mean? I don't want to be nothing. I want to be something. Well, that becomes a problem because you'll have a lot of psychological suffering because you're holding on to something. You have to let go of it. You have to let go of the something psychologically in order to be free. And the big thing that we have to let go of are the thoughts inside our head. You got to get control of the thoughts that you're thinking inside your head. If you don't have control of the thoughts that you're thinking, then everything else is automatic. Reactions based on conditioning. But if you can control the thoughts that you're thinking, then you can choose. You can choose what thought you want to think. You can choose whether or not you want to think the thought that you're thinking. You can't choose the thought. That just pops up based on the reaction. But you can choose if I want to follow that thought. Because the thought leads to future actions. And I can say, is that a thought leads to loving, or is that a thought that leads to suffering? And they, well, I won't choose the thought that leads to suffering. I'll choose the thought that leads to loving. But most people don't have a choice. And so that's the power of public speaking. Because if I may not be able to control the thought that I think, that the ego thinks, because the ego is doing the thinking, but Roy, I can control the thoughts that the ego speaks. I can control the tongue of the ego. And if I can tame the ego's tongue, then you are free in this life. You are free of psychological suffering, because the psychological suffering that you experience are the thoughts about the movie that you're watching. And so you can change those thoughts from egoic to loving. And all of a sudden, love appears in your reality. And so then you engage in life from a loving point of view, and that's where happiness lies. And all that is from public speaking. Unbelievable. And so that's why I chose public speaking as the vessel that allowed the transformation of consciousness. At being a transpersonal psychologist, it's like, wow, because everybody can do it. Everybody can do public speaking. And
did you go down the meditation route and breathwork route on this journey?
Oh, you bet. Deep into the meditation, because you Sadhguru, my guru, Sadhguru says you got to go in to get out. You want to get out? You want that enlightenment stuff? You got to go inside yourself. You got to manage the thoughts that you think, and until you can manage the thoughts that you think, you are going to be you'll be the victim of the thoughts that you think, which are based in your conditioning about the past. And so you have to free yourself from the thoughts that you're thinking. And mindfulness is to be present in this moment of now without thinking. How can I be present in this moment of now without thinking? Well, there's a wonderful course that I'm taking. I've been doing it for months. I'm not that far into it. It's called the Course in Miracles. And there's 365 lessons in the Course in Miracles. And lesson number 1, it says, look at all the things in front of you, all the objects in the room that you're listening to, the items and everything, and say to yourself that everything that I see has no meaning. Well, immediately, if you say that everything in this room has no meaning, then you can't think. Because thinking is painting the meaning of the things that you see. So if I say it has no meaning, then I can't think. And that's a very strange place to be in. because the second lesson is that everything you see, you add the meaning to. So wait a minute, it just is. And then I bring my ego in and I tell you how it all is. And as you begin to manage the thoughts that you think, you go back to that place where everything just is, rather than trying to interact with the world through my egoic past conditioning, because those are just thoughts. I'm now able to take the thoughts, put them aside, and just be present in this moment of now. And everything just is, without me throwing my 2 cents in to my opinion about what is. And that is the definition of mindfulness. And that is, you have to go to the gym. You got to do push-ups, because what I just said, I've been doing this for 50 years. You just have to be committed to, hey, this is a vehicle of transformation. Just control the timing of your speaking.
And with different kind of meditation as well, like guided and stuff like that, which did you find worked best for you?
The best that I've experienced is what I'm doing now with Sadhguru, the Isha Foundation. He is currently riding a motorcycle through 25 countries through Europe. I think he started in London and he's going to end up in India for the benefit of the soil, the benefit of Mother Earth, because we all came from the soil. And so being grounded, so his work has a lot to do with breathing exercises, yoga exercises, being grounded exercises, and making thoughts that you think disappear. And if you can make that stream of thoughts that goes through your mind all day long, one consistent stream of thought, never ending, just one solid stream of thought, begin to put a break in that stream of consciousness, put a little crack there and another one, and begin to have those thoughts disappear. It opens up that space, just like the space between the sounds that I speak. I create that empty space between the thoughts that I think, and that access mindfulness, that access meditation. That's called sunya meditation. It's the emptiness of meditation. And that was very powerful. And you can do that. You don't have to be initiated. You can just close your eyes and as you notice all those thoughts, just say any sound you want to, any sound, any mantra sound that you want to, and just disrupt the sound, disrupt the thought, and that will begin to practice disrupting thoughts. So all we're doing is I'm just disrupting the stream of thoughts that I'm speaking, just like I disrupt the stream of thoughts that I'm thinking. So it's a disruption, but then that frees you. That frees you from the grip of the thought. And so that's the transformation from the ego into the being.
Like with the thought process, like not many people actually think about this, but you can't be in two places at once. So especially now with all the doom and gloom for the last few years and now what's going on at the moment, not to be concentrating on that, because unfortunately the world that we live in, they have news coming on every hour, just bombarding people with negativity, and just get away from that. And like, even whatever thought goes into your head, just step back and think of something good, or just redirect it. And you can't stay in that place, because where you are is how I believe, you're putting it through your cells. If you're in that bad zone, you're vibrating it through you, and the opposite as well, and just take it out.
Yep, I agree. Being able to be out in nature. There's the plant behind me, bringing nature into you, a forest, a place of stillness. The idea is that I'm holding up in my hand one of these glass balls that you shake and the snow gets all over the place. So the agitation that you're experiencing, especially in Poland, Roy, is you're close to the action. And so there's even more agitation of the mind, and that's survival, concerned about what's going on. Am I good? And so finding any place where you can become more still, a quiet place where you can become still, just for the moment, to allow these thoughts to settle down. And an easy technique that you can do, I call it the stop technique. I got it from Deepak Chopra and Eckhart Tolle in one of their podcasts they were doing. And the stop technique is, the S stands for just anytime during the day you're thinking about something, just wake up, open your eyes, open the eyes and say, stop, just stop. And then T is take 3 breaths, take 3 deep breaths, and close your eyes, it's even better. You take 3, and as you breathe out, O is observe your body and then flow the energy out to the bottom of your feet 3 times. And then the P in stop is proceed with kindness. Think of a kindful thought, or do a kindful act. And that just begins to put a little crack in the automaticity and the of that conditioning thinking process that goes 24/7 without any stopping at all. And when you get one little crack, and it's like you have the ego, there's this egoic egg, it's been described in the past. It's an egoic egg, and every time you're able to stop and pause and do anything that requires mindfulness, presence, it puts a little hole in that egg. And when the little hole gets in the egg, the embryo inside the egg, which is the egoic transformation, a little light shines in. And then you do another act of stillness, another act of kindness, another hole appears in the egg, and another hole. And eventually you do all these acts of love and kindness, and the shell of the egg dissolves. And when the shell of the egg dissolves, the being is born. And that would be self-realization. And so those acts of kindness, and one of the kind acts that it's a blessing in my life is the realization that the unloving thoughts I have about myself keep me in psychological suffering, keep me in a psychological hell. The unloving thoughts I have about, not this, the unloving thoughts about the world around me, all those thoughts, but what do I have unloving thoughts about myself? And as I begin to examine that, I hear myself, oh, that's good, that's bad, you shouldn't have done that. Gee, I would have done this different. I did that. And you hear these thoughts inside your head. And then you realize that the unloving thoughts I have about myself, how do I get out of that? In the Course of Miracles, they say you get out of that by saying that the unloving thoughts I have about myself, how I get out of that is to realize that my divinity and my holiness are my salvation. And it's like, what does that mean? Well, forgiveness of sins, forgiveness of the unloving thoughts. I have the loving thoughts, the unloving thoughts. If I can forgive myself from the unloving thoughts, then I experience love. Totally. Not just a little love, I experience, because I love myself. And I can't love you, Roy, until I love myself. I got to heal me first. And that's meditation. Meditation is heal me first before I'm going to put my hands out here and try to work with the world. If I'm a cripple here, let's see if I can get myself more balanced. Just a matter of balance. You don't get caught by all those thoughts happening out there in the world. You see them, yet you don't get seduced by them. You don't get hooked by them. And people get hooked by totally out of control. And you're making decisions when you're totally out of control. Probably not the best.
And like when you're, in the zone, you are so much more productive. You get so much done. You're so much more focused, and life becomes sweet. I'm just from our conversation, I can see like you're a continuous learner. You're mentioning podcasts, doing the courses. I'm the same. I'm always doing stuff. I'm reading. I try to read 100+ books. I just love just educating, but being present and enjoying it, what I do. But what I find strange is the amount of people that don't, they might go away and do their degree, they might do a master's, and they will never read a book again or never do anything else. And then they chug through life. And like, what's your thoughts on, like to find something that you thoroughly enjoy or improve your skill set, just but being totally present when you're doing it?
Well, what comes to my mind is the 7 habits of highly effective people. Stephen Covey, right? Stephen Covey, and he talked about the seventh habit, sharpen the saw, and he said this, and the saw is divided into there's 4 parts. There's the physical part, the mental part, the emotional part, and the spiritual part. And he said you should put a little time into physical, make sure your physical body is in good shape, eat the good food, the loving thoughts, the emotional part, the balance of the emotions, you do a little work in that area, the mental thoughts, meditation, stability of thoughts, spiritual thoughts are the grounding, the being, the spaciousness, the spiritual, the religious, those are more the spiritual thoughts. And so he talked about, wanting to make sure you have the balance. You have the balance between all those things. And in addition to that, the balance of the 5 elements in your life. In the 5 elements, the earth, all the solids around you, get as close to the earth as you possibly can, bare feet in the earth as much as you can, get your hands in the earth as much as you can, because what we are, we came from the earth. So if you want to heal the mind, get your fingers into the earth, because those thoughts, those agitations, Mother Earth will heal you. And so those are so fire heals. So you want to be aware. I have a candle over here burning. So you have a plant from outdoors. So you consciously think about the 5 elements. And what's nice about public speaking is that every time I consciously think about putting a pause there, I evoke the 5th element in my life, and I become more spacious, and I keep putting those holes in the egg. And it seems like, though I've been here for 70 some odd years, I'm still putting holes in that egg, and you experience more brightness in your life as you do that, more loving thoughts as you do that. And then I get to talk to you all the way in Poland.
And just finally, actually, because with like you've talked about how people can kind of pause down and slow down, but there's some people, they won't even get on the stage. They're just so, honestly, I was very late to the game. It's only 4 or 5 years ago that I actually started to practice and overcome the fear of public speaking. But I know there's a lot of people that have that. So what would you advise somebody that's even afraid to just step on the stage?
Well, the opportunity is go to the stage when no one's there. Go to the auditorium when no one's there. Go to the meeting where your meeting is going to be when no one's there. Just go there, stand on the stage. Just stand on the stage, go that part of the stage, go that part of the stage, just so you begin to feel that I've been here before. Another thing that I would recommend is that if it's inevitable that you're going to go up on stage, which means not just physically, but psychologically, you're going to be speaking in front of an audience, whether it's 1, 2, 500, whatever. Building rapport is a way of making you feel more comfortable. Communicating, shaking hands before you begin to do the public speaking. Connect to people as much as you can. That will put you more at ease. So the building of the rapport would put you at ease. As far as feeling comfortable in controlling the timing, that goes back to the mirror work. And the mirror work is to just go home by yourself in the mirror, see if you can maintain eye contact with yourself in the mirror. Just to see if I can just talk to myself in the mirror. Because if I can't maintain eye contact with myself in the mirror, then when you go to that stage, 200, 300, 500 people, you won't be still. You'll be agitated, and that will take away from your effectiveness. Becoming still, taking conscious breathing, taking 25,000 breaths a day. How many are conscious? 0. If you can make a conscious breath, just mean fill your belly up first before you fill up the top of your lungs. That would be another way of grounding yourself and becoming more present in this moment.
I remember, I don't think I've ever actually said this on the show. When I got into multi-level marketing, and my then wife had a school, and I said I was going to do it in the school where people would come and I would do the presentation, and nobody turned up. So she said, just do it anyway and practice. And my face contorted. was so stressed out. It was as if the room was full. And what it done actually is it made me realize it's all in my head because there was nobody there. And, just to overcome that then and to not fear public speaking, but it just shows it's our head that's stopping us from getting on the stage.
It's the thoughts that you have. So if I'm going to get up on stage, have I earned the right to speak on the subject that I'm on the stage for? If I haven't earned the right to speak, then the ice under my feet is going to be thin, and I'm not going to feel very psychologically comfortable. But if I've earned the right to speak, well, then I'm here to heal, I'm here to contribute, I'm here to be of service, and I'm grounded, and I've earned the right to speak. And so that would be another question. And when I train the public speakers, I say the hardest part is getting the data, it's getting the knowledge that you're going to be speaking about. That takes years. The actual technique, we can do that in a short period of time. So don't worry about, you already got the big part. The major part, you've earned the right to speak. You've got power, you've got knowledge. Now we want to give you the finishing school. We want to give you the polishing of okay, now let's just talk about the speaking piece, the timing piece of your delivery. And that opens up, that completes. Now you have the knowledge and I have the timing. And to put them together, you got a powerful speaker who speaks for whatever they want to speak for. And hopefully they're speaking for saving the world rather than my yacht and my jet and my ego, because there's only a limited amount of resources and there's a huge number of people. And we got to get beyond the more. We got to get beyond this. I need the jet. I need more to make me happy, because you'll just continue to destroy the Mother Earth, and you can't eat the spaceship. We're on a spaceship. You can't eat. You can't shoot the spaceship. We'll all die. So stop. You don't need a jet, Roy. I know you want one, but you don't get to have one this time. I'm sorry, you don't get that jet.
A long time ago, I got out of the wanting things, and I think when you make that transition, and to be honest with you, the main focus of the speaking podcast was for people to make a change, because I realized how powerful it is to actually make a difference. And I've noticed that a lot of the people that actually wanted that didn't have the ability to actually speak and get their message out, which in turn could get more people involved. So that was kind of the whole purpose of doing this, and which in turn the meditation then is kind of connecting the mindfulness, and that's why. And the other one is the awakening, which is exposing the different things, but with solutions, so they all kind of connect together.
Wow, that's exciting, and it is an opportunity for me to be able to speak about things I've been doing in my entire life. And it allows more people to hear mindfulness, allows more people to hear spaciousness. And to me, that's healing. When you begin to consciously put those little holes and light into the egg, it heals. It heals the energy. You become more loving rather than not loving.
Exactly. And when you become more loving, you attract more love. That's the way I feel.
Yep.
Listen, Alan, thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. How can people get in contact with you?
Well, we have the website, ACA at mindfulness at mindfulu.com, mindfulu.com. That's MINDFULYOU, mindfulu.com. ACA.
I'll make sure I put that in the podcast description as well as on the video as well, so that people can just click directly. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Roy. Bye-bye.
So that's all for the Speaking Podcast and the Meditation Podcast. And you'll find speakingpodcast.com, meditationpodcast.org, on BitChute and YouTube. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, really helps. Until next week, take care. This podcast is and always will be free. There are two ways you can help me, as I spend a lot of time researching, recording, editing, and marketing my podcast. I also have plenty of costs with like Zoom, BitChute, StreamYards, as well as equipment. I have a donation button, which you can buy me a coffee once a month, or even just donate €1, because if everybody who listens to the podcast donate €1, it would cover all the costs. You can also support our sponsors. All the links are in the podcast show notes. Thank you for listening. This podcast is sponsored by Kulabola, that creates simple and very advanced websites, as well as creating fantastic animation. If you or someone you know is looking to start or update their websites, we're offering a genuine 20% discount with the code SPEAKING. Just go to Kulabola, COOLABULLA.com, and the links are in the podcast description.